and welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy the Middle-Aged Gamer, and this is the VFC AV74M GBBR full review. Now, as always, this is going to be a good one, so grab a drink and get comfy while I stick the usual disclosures on screen now, and let's jump in. Okay, so let's start this video off with a little bit of context. In Airsoft, there aren't that many companies making gas blowbacks. It started with WE and GHK. They were the only options, so everyone kind of accepted it, even though they were absolute cluster dumps. Now, a little over 10 years, you're looking about 13 years ago, the V2 hit the market for GHK, and that had its own problems. I think it was like a 70% failure rate, which is ridiculously high. And if you want to know more about that, I do highly advise you check out my good friend Bada Bing Pictures and watch his 10-year journey on his GHK AK. He was extremely excited when the V3 came out in 2023, but as it was a niche reaction, as you would say, to the VFC one, they were expecting this to be out due to the fact that they'd already announced that they were doing one. So they tried to beat VFC to the party with an upgrade, and to be honest with you, their V3 was absolutely terrible. So bad. Again, he does document this better than I could do because he had one, and it's fair to say his own opinions. And it was basically broken out the box. Everything was bent, misshapen, the lot, missing features like the click no bang, even though they promised it. And in the end of the day, they promised to send a kit out. They never did to him. All that sort of stuff. It's GHK. Now, flash forward to 2024, and we've had Tokyo Marui in 2021. They did an awesome system. It was very over-engineered, very complicated internals, but it bloody well run, and it was absolutely awesome. You've seen my AKX review on this channel. You know I don't mind an AK. So when VFC came out with theirs, I was excited to get my hands on one of these. So having had this now for a long time, I'm able to put my opinions here for you. So let's see, how did VFC do? Did they do a good job or did they do poor? Let's do what we always do, start at the rear, work our way forward. So let's jump to it. Okay, so at the rear, just like the real steel, you have a polymer buttstock. Now you do have this nice cutout with a nice little paint mark in here. I'd love people, if you see these kind of markings, let me know in the comments down below what they are. I'm like you, I'd love to learn new things, so yeah, go for it, because that's the one thing when doing research for this on the internet, there are so many different opinions and variations, whether it's Western opinions with Western ideology or it's some Eastern Bloc but not the same as Russia. It's ridiculous. So let me know. Let's all learn together. Now, this is all polymer. It's nylon fiber. It's very strong, very rigid. There is no bend or flex. There is a steel sling loop on this side, being mounted here from the rear. It's been bent out just like the real one, and I'll show you that on the other side in a second. You do get a steel end cap with steel screws, okay? So if I push and release, you can see it better here. Here at the back, you have your stock release button and your trapdoor, 2 steel screws and a steel end plate. Now, like you saw me do, here at the end, you do have your steel mounting bracket here and a steel button to allow you to fold this over, and it can secure here. Now, as I say, here is your rear sling point. It's a swivel, does rotate, but because it's the old style, it will basically hold its shape. Now, to release it, push the button, flips over, and away you go. Now, moving on down, we do have the one-to-one pistol grip, basically, for the AK. This is exact to the real steel and will fit on a real one, and real ones will fit on this. Because VFC don't mess about, they put everything one-to-one in realistic dimensions. You really can fit any mil-spec AK-74 parts to this, so go for it, and it's really good. Now, of course, that leads us here to this system, which is absolutely awesome. Now, you do get your steel, trigger protector here, and you do get your magazine release up here. That's all steel. Your trigger is steel. Basically anything that's metal is steel on this gun, which is ridiculous. So as you can see here, let's check this gun out. I'll show you the trigger pull. It's a really good pull, and before we do anything, you can see there is nothing there. Pull the chamber back, you can see in that there's no BB or anything in there. This is gas powered. So as you can see, you get to here, you've got a nice bit of creep. and creep and creep and creep. And there's the break. And you got 1, 2, 2.5 mils of over travel. And that's where the reset comes in, which is nice. 1, 2, 3. There's the fourth, as you can hear. It's very audible, very tactile. And then you got another 1.5 to 2 millimeters of, travel to the front. And away you go. It's a nice trigger. It's very light. It's about 3 pounds in pull, thereabouts, a bit lighter. It's very nice. Now the coloring on this is correct. It's a nice, anodized coating, painting coating, whatever you want to call it. It's really good. It will wear. It's natural to wear, and it just adds to the aesthetic as you add and remove stuff. Now, obviously, let's move to the magazine while we hold that there. So these are the cool magazines. These are very, very special. Okay, now in Airsoft, we all know the gas magazine is the heart of how this works, and if you don't get the magazine right, everything else starts to go downhill. Now, VFC did nail it. Let's show you the weight. We'll zero it properly, and we'll put that on there. And we are looking at 400 grams. Let's call it what it is. 400 grams is absolutely awesome. Now, if we get that out of the way. Okay, so you've got a nice weight. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel like a brick in your hand. It just feels nice, solid, but lightweight enough that you could run around all day with a couple of these on your rig and not be sweating bollocks at the end of it, as they say. Yeah, with the 42 round capacity, with the nice sheer fact that you're going to get 3 mags at least through this thing before you need to refill it, it's very gas efficient. Now your fill valve is here at the rear, and you've got your securing tab here. Now these are metal. Unlike many other companies that use just polymer, these are metal and they're really good. Now you can see in here that there is a little piece here, metal bar. Now if I get something to just push that down, so if I get this little piece here and we push down on that, we do this, you will see that this bar, if I can just push that lever down, there it goes, boop. That pops up. That's your knocker for it, and when your BBs are empty, it pops down. Now this does have a dry fire feature right here. So in here there's a little slider, if I can get that there for you. So you would push that down, slide that across, and it locks that bar up so you can keep dry firing if you wish. Having the click no bang is really good because you're not wasting shots. And like I say, adds to the extra realism. And another good thing about it being in here, it's a lot more easier to remove 2 screws, take the top off, repair any parts that may break over time, as everything does break eventually. That's really good, and it's more durable for you. So I would highly recommend that. Now, of course, like I say, it's a really good system. I do like it, and it takes it out the gun, so you're not knocking out rivets or mock rivets or damaging in there, messing around with the click no bang feature inside there. It makes it way more complicated than it needs to be. So, really good. Again, another mark in here, and you do have your 5.1 here. If you want to remove the base plate, you can push that in, slide this off. It's able to do that, and you do get your Ishmash marking right there. So, that's your magazine. We can move that to one side. Now, as you can see here, you do get the right dimples where it needs to be, and every rivet is in there, and they're all steel. They're really decent. I've left this little protective strip. That's just for your stock retaining latch. That's just me. And you do have your Ishmash logo and your serial number, etc., and all that in there, which is really good. Now, when it comes to, like I say, your rear sight, this is a high quality. You can't lift this up and flip it over like some of the cheap AEGs. And to maneuver it, you just push the 2 tabs in and slide it away. It's really good. It has the correct markings on there, and it feels solid. And this is all steel. We'll show you that with the magnet in a moment when we do a disassembly on this. You do get your polymer handguard. It's extremely rigid. The only movable part is the gas tube cover, which is normal. You have your front sling loop here. This is all steel. And you've got your gas block. You can see your piston inside here. If I get that steady, you can just see it moving in and out, which is good. And like I say, everything on here is full steel. You have a full steel out barrel, steel guide rod, steel front sight, which is adjustable for windage and elevation, but you will need a front sight AK tool. And you do have the AK muzzle device for the 74. This is removable. I'll show you that in a moment by pushing that pin in and screwing it out. Then you'll need to remove the thread adapter that's on there, and that will basically give you the 14mm CCW if you don't want this and you want to put a tracer or some muzzle device on there. If I flip this around, you can see everything is awesome. You do have your gas tube latch here, release latch, and you have your charging handle. Now this is the SEMA one. I've added this for me, just for my hands, and yeah, it's awesome. Now, of course, you do get your fire selector. Right now, you can put it up into safe, all the way down to semi, and in the middle is the fast semi. Wink, wink. And as you can see there, you can see your hammer inside doing the hammer things. Now, everything is awesome, so why don't we take this out to the range and let's see what she can do. Okay, I'm using green gas and 0.25 gram BBs. So let's see what the FPS is like on this VFC. One. Okay, so 5 rounds through. That is a high of 347.9, low of 333.5, average of 340.6 with a deviation of 5.62. Bloody good, absolutely great. Okay, so let's take it back to 50 meters and let's see what she can do. That's very good. Okay, so let's take you back and try the Texas Star. I'd say that was a success. Okay guys, well, as you can see, she's bloody accurate. For stock in a barrel, stock nozzle, the lot, no workings, all the bookings that are identical as you get it out of the box. And yeah, just 2-inch group all day long, no problem. She's bloody accurate. And yeah, what more can I say? It speaks for itself. Now, let's take a look at how this thing works and how good they did of a job inside. So, the good thing about AKs is a lot of it's here. So she is filthy, but as you can see, VFC have manufactured the most realistic looking internals you're going to get. Now, the only non-realistic is here, and that's your firing pin. That hits that back of the metal piece that pops up, and that hits your knocker valve. When that's down, that will go over the top of it, and it won't go bang. It'll just go click, no bang. Now, you can see you have your AK rate reducer in there for your rate of fire. You do have your button there for collapsing the stock. You can see your selector lever is right there, and you can see this piece here moving. And you've got your braided spring in there. It's pretty much as realistic as it's going to get, and there is no need to try and disassemble this. Everything is steel, 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 steel. The whole body, everything on here is steel, which is bloody fantastic. You can't complain about the material in this one. The only polymer, apart from the stock and the handguards, and that is right here. And that is your hop adjustment wheel and hop chamber bits here. Now, the good thing about this is if you want to, say for instance, you want to convert this to an SBR, well, you would remove this lower handguard. Mine's on there quite new and tight. But you take this off, there's a little pin here, punch that through, and once you've taken that, you can then remove this whole bar and block off with some screws, but you will need to re-index it. There are 2 securing screws inside for the barrel. Explosive Enterprises showed you how to do that. It's quite simple, but if you don't and you just want to change the inner barrel, you take that screw, and then this whole unit here at the end slides out. You literally just grab onto it and pull it, or if you've got a cleaning or enjamming rod, you can pop it down the front and away you go. Okay, so yeah, phenomenal, very simple. It just comes out the rear. You can pull it apart, and then you won't even need any more screws because there's no screws on there. You just take the clip off, that's a little plastic retaining clip, and disassemble it, and away you go. Of course, there will be metal ones and aluminum and better stuff by Garda and Lilacs as time goes by. I'm very sure of that. And I'm very sure that Clutch Precision are going to be working on some really cool stuff for this as well, given their reputation for being absolute excellent. Now, as you can see, the outer barrel, that's the other thing, is steel, along with the heat shield in there, and the barrel, the block, the gas block here, like I say, it's all steel. And that is just phenomenal. But that's how that basically works. Everything's steel, everything's good, and I like it. I like it a lot. It's just so much fun. And a lot more simpler to work on than some other GBBRs. Now, of course, you do get your cleaning rod from the real steel. And yes, it is steel. Okay, now I did say at the front there would be a 14mm CCW threads. Now the inner barrel on this is a 280mm, so it goes all the way to about here, give or take. Okay, so if you want to go longer, you can for higher FPS. If you want to go less, you can just take the barrel out and put the new inner barrel in there with a shorter one to lower your FPS if you wish. So not to worry there. Now on the end, when you do, it comes mounted with this. Now this is on there pretty tight, and as you can see, there are 2 tiny little divots there that you're going to need to put some needle nose pliers or a special tool to undo. And this will come off CCW wise, so you're talking to clockwise to turn to undo, and then you can take this off. This is on there so that this muzzle device works, and like I said, everything is steel. So it's not cheap, it's not going anywhere. Your gas block, there's the gas tube inside, as you can see, steel, polymer cover there, steel ends, steel retaining spring here for the back, which is ridiculously awesome. It's just so much steel, and you wonder why. Now, with that, let's move this out the way a second, because next let's go on to talk about the bolt carrier itself. And before we do anything, we do need to move you up. Okay, let's bring back the scales. We'll zero it, and let's stick the bolt carrier on there, shall we? Just trying to get this on here like as close as we can do. I'm not putting anywhere, how to say, weight on that. I'm just, as you can see, holding it. But you're looking about 380, let's call it 380 grams, and it is full on steel. So you have a heavy bar. Now, no, this is not. This silver part here is just aluminium. It's there to simulate the steel gas piston, and it's threaded in very tight. So if you are wanting to remove it, you can, but you don't need to. The main core here, all this is steel. And as you can see, you do have a spring-loaded nozzle. Now, why is that? Why is this nozzle light spring-loaded in, goes to a neutral? Whether you go out, it goes back. And that is because when you've got this and it is slamming home into the bolt carrier, you have nearly 400 grams of weight slamming home. Now, all this weight onto a plastic nozzle is not good. So what happens is this goes in, it hits the bucking, causes a seal, this pushes it in, it goes bang, and as it goes, it gives it that extra, call it 1.5 centimeters of travel before it starts to being pulled out. So you get that extra little bit of, how to say, gas seal, which is better for you in the long term. Wear and tear on it, there was a slight little peening here where it's slamming into this little nubbin right here where my thumb is. I can show you that there. But yeah, where that is, it just hits there as it goes home, and to be honest, it stays. When it gets to this point here, it will stay like that. Now, you can remove the nozzle and you can input any standard VFC GBBR MPAS. So, if you go on to, for instance, Clutch Precision, I highly recommend you do and get their CNC'd version of it. All you would need to do is remove this screw here by pushing up on here, using a Phillips screwdriver, undo it. Once that's done, you would then literally put a flathead screwdriver into here, take out the cross pin that retains it, and this whole thing will drop out. There are 2 punch pins, you can see them here. You release that pin to release the return spring, and you release that pin to release the rocket valve. The rocket valve in this is the exact same one as the FNC. Explosive Enterprises show you how to do it. If you want to do it, you can do it the easier way of just using a smaller inner barrel. You can even go tight bore, and that the smaller you go, the more tight if you want to run the CQB. Eventually, you are going to probably reduce the barrel length by a couple of inches and use the 105 barrels that are currently in development, wink wink. But yes, there are little mods, just like the FNC got short barrel kit and everything done by, I believe BBW did one. So yeah, it's a case of this is absolutely awesome. Now, as for your guide rod, it's accurate to the real AK. It's a 2-piece design, except they added this little bit of a spacer piece here to add an extra bit of buffer. It's a tighter spring at the front than the rear. And you do have this little piece here. Now, they do incur, and I don't think anyone's ever going to really use it, but you can actually put a little spacer device that comes with the gun. It will, once you reassemble everything before you put this in, you will angle the spacer in, then put this all in, the recoil spring, and push it in. It stays into this little spring here, and what that does is shorten the throw of travel. Now, this is decent enough. It is a little over halfway travel anyway. So, for a sake of about 10 to 15 extra shots overall in magazine gas efficiency, I like the extra long kick, the cycling of it. It's just a nice way keeping it as it is stock rather than using the spacer. But again, if you're in a cold country, whacking that spacer in means you are going to get a lot more efficiency and a lot more reliable cycling. So it will help you in those really cold countries. But yeah, that's going to be up to you and your preference. Now, your top cover, steel, and is mil-spec. Any mil-spec top cover will work. Now, okay, so as you can see, a good friend of mine lent me his 5KU, stock and some upgrade parts for it. I did test them, but sadly, it's like everything that's AK related. Fit and finish is going to be either you have to kludge it or you're basically going to do that. As I can show you here, if I line this up, there is a massive gap. You can just see right there that's going to be needed to be shimmed to get that to fit, okay, and lock in. So there's one issue I had with that. So I couldn't fit that to this. You'll find that with AKs, especially in Airsoft, no company makes the AK the exact same size. LCT are too long, GHK generally too long. Their new Gen 3s are just a little bit off spec, and there is some modifications needed. It's crazy because when you look at things like here, you'd think that that looks great. And if I was to flip it over, it looks very similar, but this is not, I would say, this is just a little bit too long for the top cover. Again, because it is designed for an AEG. Now, when it comes to the handguards, the rear end piece here will fit it, but let's show you the front here. Just looking at the front, anyone can tell the retaining clip here is too, I would say, narrow compared to these, and so you would have to remove a lot of material to get this to fit. It's a bit silly, but it is what it is. And of course, if you're looking for the gas tube cover, you've got that there, but you'll need to find a way of getting this completely tapped out and done, which can be done. You can tap the end off, pull this plastic off, and put it back in together on one of these. And that is your closest you're going to get. But again, because of the shape of this, these retaining clips and that, going to be a bit of a pain. So if you are looking for aftermarket upgrade parts, make sure that they are true mil spec and not, how would you say, you know, AEG parts that people are trying to say are full on spec. So how about I show you this thing shooting while we put it all back together again, and we can go over our final thoughts. Okay, so if you've gotten this far in the video and you like what you see but you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit that notification bell and like button. That way you stay notified whenever I upload a new video, and you really help this video out with the YouTube algorithm. We all know in the age of airsoft demonetization, it's really difficult. Now, of course, if you really want to go one step further, you can always use the YouTube thanks button, and every penny donated is a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart and greatly appreciated. Now, let's get over final thoughts. Okay, so what are my final thoughts? Well, I've been waiting for over a year for this, and I was lucky enough to be one of the first, if not the first, to get theirs here in the UK and be playing around with it before anyone else. Yes, some other people have put their videos out a lot sooner than me, but I do like to make sure that I do my own due diligence and I take my time. I don't just watch other people and say what it is. Now, I do appreciate an AK. I've been waiting for a very good AK, and finally VFC have answered the call. If it's a light selection, what do you want? The most realistic, accurate, available AK on the market and very efficient, then this is the one to go for. Up until now, Tokyo Marui, with their over-engineered, very complicated internals and not even made of steel, but aluminum or aluminium and all that, was the way to go. But now you have a genuine replica of the actual AK-74, and it's made by a very good company with the best of intent, and it's really shown you. The accuracy alone, as you can see here, phenomenal. The overall build quality, second to none. It's amazing. You know, I've really struggled to find a flaw, apart from the FPS being slightly pokey for the local CQB site, but I'm sure with using a slightly lower powered gas, I could get away with it, or a shot it in a barrel, etc., or I can install the MPAS. It's not like it's impossible to do. It's very simple, and I highly recommend choosing an option to reduce it and getting one of these and go for it, you know, because it is phenomenal. The kick is hard kicking, the accuracy is spot on, the rate of fire is really nice, it's very precise, there's no delay, you know, it's snappy, and yeah, the option to have that spacer for cold weather people is awesome, and in the summer you can run it without it and get even more recoil. It's just absolutely awesome, and the fact that it fits real steel parts, you know for sure it's going to fit. If you make sure it's mil spec, it's going to fit, and knowing that is a huge, I would say, big game changer for many people, because you buy something that's, oh right, it's AEG, but because there are many AEG companies that are manufacturing different specs, different sizes, SEMA for instance do one, and then you've got LCT, and it's hard to get things to fit. Some do, some don't. It's a headache. With this, you know it's mil spec, it's going to fit, etc. So that's great. You can make this to what you want. And yeah, if you're looking for an AK, this is the one to buy. Avoid all the others. Go straight for the VFC AK and enjoy. It's just phenomenal. And of course, like I say, I'm very sure that with people like Clutch Precision, you are going to get an SBR, I would say, shot barrel kit at some point soon. And we're all going to get this really happy and enjoy this awesome AK-74 as we should. And I'm very sure that if VFC do good sales, which I can't see why not, it's sold out everywhere, then I'm sure that they're going to be doing genuine variants themselves, whether it be the 74U or even, I would love the 9mm AK. That would be really cool, you know, but we'd have to see. A PP19 with a drum mag. Oh. Now, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this. I look forward to reading them. And with that, once again, a huge thank you. I've been Andy, the Middle-Aged Gamer. You guys have been absolutely amazing. And I will see you in the next one.